Okay, hi, hello, and welcome to WholeBeing Journey. I'm your host today. My name is Jasmine Pham, and I'm thrilled to have you to join us. This show is dedicated to getting to know each other better as fellow graduates of the MA in Happiness Studies program. After spending 18 months together in an online learning environment, we now have the opportunity to share our stories and experience more personally. So today I'm excited to introduce our guest, Ragini Prasad. I really don't know if I say your last name correctly.
My last name is correct, and you can call me Ragini, as in a girl.
Yeah, Ragini.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
that's right.
Ragini. Okay, so she born in northern India. Ragini's values were deeply shaped by her grandparents, spiritually, and love for knowledge. Her mother's and her father's relationship building skills. Um, and so with degrees in psychology and business administration, Ragini has built a diverse career that spans corporate work, freelancing in digital learning, and creative projects such as children's books and educational games. This is what we should learn later. Uh, and her remarkable journey includes revitalizing her husband engineering company and delve and delving into the Vedanta and the Bhagavad Gita. Do I say it right?
Bhagavad Gita, that's
Yeah.
right.
Would led her to become a passionate yoga practitioner and chakra energy healer. The pandemic prompted her to join the MA in Happiness Study program and challenge her embrace with her family's un- unwavering support. So at 60, and she doesn't look like she's 60, Ragini is now dedicated to helping elderly women find purpose and joy, envisioning happier centers for their wellness. Living a four-generation home in Mumbai, she embodies holistic well-being. So join us as Ragini share her inspiring story for transformation, wisdom, and faith. Without further ado, let's welcome Ragini Prasad to WholeBeing Journey. Hello, Ragini.
And Jasmine, and thank you so much for all the wonderful words. Look forward to our conversation. And with all of you here, good morning and good evening in whatever time zones you are.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today with us, Ragini. Today I learned to say your name correctly. Usually I call you by Ragini, but now I learned that like your name actually sounds Ragini. And it
Yes,
sounds really beautiful. Sound really beautiful. Um,
thank
so
you.
so you were mentioned about your grandparents. It was very interesting that learning from you that you learned from your grandparents. I don't know if you are close to them. Do you live with them when you was young? You like to share with us a little bit about your grandparents, please?
Sure, absolutely. Anything to do with me, what I am, largely, of course, yes, I lived with my parents and my grandparents. I had a beautiful, wonderful childhood, beautiful memories. And a lot of what I am is, from both my grandparents. Of course, my parents were a very integral part of my life, as with all children. But to have grandparents around you, I think, is a very special feeling and a very special learning that you get from them. So my grandmother was a very, very spiritual, deeply spiritual lady, with her, whether it was rituals or whether it was her faith or whether it was with her prayers or her discipline, and the belief that she had in a higher consciousness. So I imbibed all those growing up. Even I come to understand that even doing little things, the repetitions, the rituals, the prayers that she taught me, or that I would say in those when you're younger, it doesn't make that much of a sense to you. But then it shapes exactly and molds you what you are, because a lot of how my deep strength, or in times of challenges, what I pull out from within is always rooted in what I learned from her. And she's a very simple person, a very simple woman who did not really have wasn't very highly educated, I should say. Uh, and yet, education is not about formal learning alone. It is so much about what you are as an individual. So I would say a lot of my personality and my inner strength comes from what I learned from her. And my grandfather, on the contrary, was a very highly educated man. And for his times, he was a very progressive man. So whereas those were times when, women's education was not so focused upon, he was one person who was a huge driver in my life, that, education is a great strength in your life, and hold on to that. And I think I imbibed my love for learning from him. And it continues to be the same, because even when he was 80, he was learning a new language. He was, so intellectually aware of what he was reading. So all those, things I imbibed from him. And without doubt, I am a lot of what I am because of having my parents around, grandparents around me.
Wow, that's a that's a very strong and deep connection between you and your
Yes.
grandparents. And
And you'd be surprised that, my grandmother's been gone, both my grandparents, after maybe 30, 35 years. I still like feel their presence around me every day. A lot of decisions that I make, I, anchor upon what they would have done or said. So I think that's very beautiful that I have that connect with them.
yeah, um, do you think it's because you practice yoga and chakra? That's why you feel their energy present with you all the time?
I think, yes, that spiritual anchoring comes. Yoga is a union. Yoga, as a word, if you know, means a union of your mind, body, and your spirit. And so it does connect you very deeply. And of course, when you mentioned that, my grandfather was a yoga practitioner as well. So I grew up seeing him perform all the yoga postures at that time. So I think, yes, when you are deeply connected with somebody, their presence is there around you. I'm sure you would be feeling the same with anybody. And when you've drawn something so much from them, all your childhood, growing up years, yes, I think
Wow, wow, that's beautiful. Uh, yeah, Ben said multi-generational wisdom. Yeah,
I can see
for
that.
sure. Um, so we were able to learn about like yoga and meditation and mindfulness during the time that we learn in the MA in happiness study. Was you what how did you feel when you see all the study that relate to what you are interested?
So, yeah, the wisdom has been there since ancient times in India, as you know, and it is being recognized world over now. And, whether it was meditation, and you follow Buddhism, you mentioned yourself, it is so deep rooted, these two practices. And so everything, and we learned in course of our MA program that how deeply we are connected, our mind, body, and, our thoughts or our intellect. And this is exactly what the practice of yoga does. So what you do physically also anchors your mind deeply, and you are ultimately what your thoughts are. So the minute you learn to, kind of build an equilibrium and be at peace, whether it is physically or mentally, you have established yourself in equanimity and peace and contentment. And as we all know, happiness arises from there. Your state of happiness is so dependent upon your physical body as also your mental state. And so, yes, it was very beautiful to learn about it. One knew about it, but then reinforcement, repetition, and learning from Tal, and having to listen to everybody's experiences whether it was with yogic postures or with meditation. And, one thing I understood, Jasmine, that you can never be enough rooted in meditation. There is always something more you can learn, or something, you cannot say, this is it, I know it all. Every day is a new learning, and every day you learn something new, how somebody else is doing, and that can get you thinking, oh yes, this is something I could try out. So those are things that came across very deeply. And Tal is such a wonderful human being and a teacher. The way he conveys things, he really kind of, it gets imprinted in your mind. And he couldn't have stressed more on how important it is to build your mind body connect. All through our program, if you remember, he kept speaking about it. So
Yeah, that's beautiful. I saw Vero and Teresa also joining in our Zoom call. Hello, our fellow friends. Um,
hi everyone.
and talk about, like yoga. I cannot stop thinking of Vero. I hope one
Yes.
day, you and Vero and other friends could be able to teach us. Hopefully one day we can be able in, having a gathering or offline class, even like online class where we can teach something that we know.
I think that would be wonderful, absolutely. And the energy, because as it is the energy that we share as classmates, as cohort members together, and Vero is very deeply connected. I know that, so it'll be fabulous to do something like that.
Yeah,
Yes,
and MA retreat for sure.
yes,
Yeah.
I know.
So I have a question about your schooling, because you pursue your degree in psychology and business administration. I don't know, is it was about around the same time, or when was the time apart? But now you change to learn something that relate to, psychology again, more
Yes.
like the MA in happiness study. So if anybody would ask you um to explain for them what is the MA in happiness study, what would you say to them? Thank you.
So first, I'll answer your question earlier, or when you said that I started off with doing a bachelor's, my undergrad studies, I had psychology. I think I had that deep curiosity to know about human behavior, about how we interact, how we react, how we act. And that is what led me to choose psychology initially. And when you're younger, what is happening around you is what influences you. So then you think, okay, business administration. So MBA was the next goal for me. It was as though, my milestone at that time. Of course, I was in my early 20s, did my master's in business administration, and of course, took to business studies. Psychology was left behind because that was the happening field. And that's what I look back now, and I think that we're not mature enough many times to exactly, foresee what is or how we envision our future self, as we have understood now that, look at what you want to see in your future. So, well, it was the choice at that time. And not that I regret it. There was another field that I got exposed to. I understood that I did have the strength to be in that field, and that was, again, an enriching journey that I went through. However, having gone through and worked in the corporate field, worked on my own on different projects, freelancing in a whole lot of different domains, I don't know, somewhere it kept coming back to me that I want to go back to psychology. And which is the time I read about positive psychology, and how, instead of just psychology looking at maintaining things, or kind of repairing things in people, positive psychology is all about cultivating positivity within you, about finding your strengths, working on your strengths. And that got me deeply interested. And this is barely, I would say, about 5 6 years back, when there was a pause, if you remember, in all our lives when pandemic hit us. And then, it led me into a lot of reflection, lot more soul searching. And it's very interesting how it brought me back to this field again. Is a whole new story that I could, narrate here. So yes, this is how I think it was this period of reflection and looking back, and connecting deeply more within, that this is what I want to again do. And again, there are no watertight compartments that I could leave business and this is what I could do. I also learned that you could pursue your passion while still performing what you were, you are continuing to do on the side. So why leave something that you want to connect with deeply? And so the MA in happiness studies happen, this is how I came to it.
That's beautiful. And I also love that you say the journey of soul searching, because it is. And it's kind of like connect with whatever you have been practiced.
So,
Yeah.
so there's something more, on that, if you would, I'd like to share. And again, it was in course of the program that I realized that this is what's happened. If it is interesting that it was never a focused direction that I said, okay, positive psychology, and let me go back to it. So in the pandemic, everything paused for a while, and then, like I said, you're thinking of what else. And I said, okay, let me enroll for a PhD program. uh, no, major thought about the future, why, what, nothing. Okay, let me enroll for it. And since I was in the field of business all these years, I said, okay, I applied to a business school and a university there for a research project. Now, as part of that application process, I was meant to submit a research proposal and the topic on which I would want to research or what my studies would be on. Now, this had never struck me, Jasmine. It's so strange that how, we just take a decision, okay, let me make an application. No thought to why I want to do it or what I want to do it. But this application forced me to look into that. And you'd be surprised, my entire research proposal that I submitted and I worked on was on happiness. I wanted to work on happiness of people, of students who, who basically go, especially professional studies. There is a lot of the suicide rates are way high in our country, and I'm sure across the world. And also in organizations. So success does not really define happiness, as we all know. And it was very, very visible at that time. So my proposal was on happiness studies, and it went through all through, like there were 3 4 processes, like steps and phases, went through everywhere until we reached the final kind of a panel interview, which I had with the dean and with the senior faculty members. And that's when they said that everything was going well. And then they said, but you do not have a background in psychology, as in, you did it 30 years ago and now you're wanting to come back to it. So, for some reason, it did not come through at that point. So disappointment set in, and I said, okay, now how do I do it? Because this is what I'd like to do, and yet, I've been told at this point that I do not have that, kind of a journey needed where the connect is happening. So then I made another application to another university, similar research proposal, everything went through. And again, I did not get enrolled into that program. So, you remember what Tal says, fail to learn, learn to fail or fail to learn. At that time, of course, I did not look at it like that. It was like, okay, you feel dejected. This did not happen. And, maybe I'm not good enough. And again, you look at yourself, various things, it starts happening. Your mind starts playing all those tricks on you. This is where I'd like to point out that both my children, my husband were very, very positive about it, very supportive. And they said, why? I remember this one conversation I had with my son where he said that, Mom, what were you really wanting to do? Were you wanting to get that label of, a PhD degree, or were you wanting to enrich yourself and learn more and grow more? I thought that was a game changer in my mind, because I said, of course, this is what I want to do. Then he said, why don't you go back to a master's? Why don't you look at doing a master's in positive psychology or this field that you're so interested in? You're not looking at that label. I think that was the most beautiful thing that happened to me at that time. And that is what led me to then, and in course, and I did not know about TAL. I did not know about the certificate. At that time, this was, I'm talking about, 2020, 2021. That was the pandemic. Those were the pandemic years. And so there was no MA, if you remember, at that time. But in course of my research, while I was submitting my proposal, for the research project, I learned about Tal and the work that he was doing in happiness studies. I learned about the certificate in happiness. And I kept telling myself, yes, I'll join the certificate. I'll join the certificate. And then it was one of those days, I think, when I got the mail, I was on the mailing list when they mailed to saying that they are launching an MA in happiness studies. And so that became my anchor that, yes, when they do that, I'm in, I'm totally in. Of course, it took a year and more before the program was launched. And I remember I kept mailing them and reaching out to them to ask, when are we, beginning the program? And sure enough, the minute it was launched, I was in, and, my journey has been so enriching from there on. So it was, I look at it and I think, the universe comes together to lead the way for you and show you. So whether it was my son having that conversation, or whether my knowing about Tal or knowing about studies formally, all these together are elements that have put me on this beautiful journey.
Wow, so enriching. I got goosebumps when you started talking about it. Uh, your son is so wise, and how you got into this program is such a journey, a meaningful journey. Yeah, I just got goosebumps. How old is
Thank
your
you.
son?
So he's 33. He's 33 years old. And, yes.
Teresa said the same. She got goosebumps too. Such a beautiful journey. And
I,
yeah,
I I look at it and I say, now I can say learn to fail. At that time, it definitely was not. And that is such a meaningful lesson, Jasmine. I can't even tell you. Had I stopped there and said, okay, anyways, it was not something do or die for me. I was already working and I had, you know, a life around other things. I could have just let it affect me negatively and not gone ahead. But look at what happened when I opened my mind. It is, unbelievable, and a lesson for life for me. And I'm sure I hope that this is what we've learned and we can convey to so many other people around us.
yes, yes. That's mean that you and your husband has are very successful of raising beautiful children, and also very wise kid as well. You know,
Thank
whatever you have been teaching him, your parent and your grandparent teaching him, is work for you.
No, absolutely. I think, these moments are so amazing. And so, yes, both my children, if I speak about them, there's another interesting fact that I'd like to share. So, both of them are very well settled. I have a daughter who is 29. She lives in Boston, in fact. So, my son runs a Pan-Asian organization on soft skill training organization. He does it for schools, corporates, teaching faculty. So he calls it a 21st century skill organization, which is about global awareness about public speaking. And he is doing very well. So, but more importantly, like you said, being grounded and rooted and in the values and imbibing the value system, that is what brings the greatest joy. You are a parent yourself now, and I'm sure all the parents out there would say this, that there's nothing more fulfilling than to see your children, and that you've done your job well, where, they are grounded. So yes, that is the case. I'm happy to say that for my son. And my daughter is an urban designer. She did architecture and she's an urban designer, works in Boston as an urban designer. Is also doing well. In fact, we connected with her when we came to the US for our graduation, for my graduation. And so in that respect, so I spoke about one child and I cannot not speak about the other. It is again something that, like you said, it is something very, very powerful in my life. And I'm really blessed because when I joined this program, it is fine. And, I work in India and this program, and I looked at it and I said, looking at the expense at that time and certain things, it's not that I could not afford it, but you look at various aspects when you're joining a program. And I said, this could be my retirement money. How am I putting it into something I may or may not use? Do I need to do that? You question yourself, you look at it from different dimensions. And all of those, of course, are immaterial right now. But at that time, it was just to make a decision. And I was having this conversation with my family. And of course, like I mentioned, all three of them, my husband, my children, both my children, very, very supportive. And they said, no, you must go for it. And it's, you can look ahead later as to what you're going to do with it. Of course, because you have that question, what am I doing? Like you mentioned, I'm in a different field from business to going back to psychology and happiness studies. And I did that. So my daughter she'd just begun work, I think I remember in 2023, which is when we joined, our program began in October, if you remember. And 2022, yes, it was. And she'd started work. And so she initially, all my, the first set of the payments that we had to do, she said, okay, mom, I'm sitting here, let me do it in dollars. It'll be easier. And the entire interface is simpler. And she did that for me. And I said, okay, that's fine. And, when you come, I'll transfer that. Would you believe it, Jasmine, that she said to me after that, Mom, this is something I want to do it for you. So my entire education, my entire master's program, it's a very small thing if you look at it. She has made all, she's the person who has paid for all my fees in all the semesters. And I objected to it at one time, and I not objected. I said, look, do not do this. I can do it, both of us, and we can manage it, and you don't have to do it. And so she said, Mom, this is my biggest achievement in life, that I can do this for you and that you've made me capable. So, that again is something so beautiful in my life and so strong. Just that the child thinks of you. I mean, she could do so much more with that, but she chose to do it for me. And again, a learning that we have from Tal is pay it forward. And so this is what she did to me. And she literally made it out that, Mom, you're going to hurt me if you do not allow me to do this. So, which is how it was. And she said, Mom, you and Dad funded our education here. And so both my children went to the United States to do their masters. My daughter studied at Howard. She did her urban design there. My son went to Cornell. So it was like she said, no, I want to do this for you. You've done your bit. So it may sound like a very small monetary thing, but it was not that. It was something so much larger for me and for my husband that, your children look at it like that and think of it. So yes, that is something I wanted to share.
Wow. I am so admire of you. Maybe Ben and I should go to India and learn how to parenting like you and your husband.
It is nothing like that. You're doing a great job yourself.
Well, you are so humble. I feel like everybody feel the same thing. You are so humble. By having I'm learning from my master that when the kid or our children, uh, they want to be with us and they want to be like us because we have done something right. Most of the time, kids when they grow up, they don't want to be around their parents, and even some of them just went abroad, just go far away, go as far as they can away from their family because they don't want the life that their parents have. But your family, your kids are so supportive. Your husband is so supportive, and the fact that your daughter support you for for the tuition, and your son is the one who have suggest you to do this again, like redo something that you have already done. You might learn something similar like this, in your other master program. You don't have to do this, and even in your PhD research, you had done the similar research as well. So it's already, the happiness 30, is already in you. Like technically you don't have to learn this, but because it's already in you. But your son encourage you, and then your daughter is also supporting you, and your your husband as well, and I'm sure your parent, your grandparent also supporting you doing this. That's why you are here with us today. And I'm so thankful and I'm so grateful to have you as our guest speaker. So you could share, like, you're fruitful to me and to all of our audience here, and whoever will listen to this recording again. I'm sure they will receive a lot of wisdom from you and your family. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about your like your commitment to elderly women's well-being. If you say that you are helping elderly women in your community, and you want to help them to find purpose and joy, I wonder, how do you do it? Thank you.
So I'll tell you why and how that occurred to me. So again, when I joined this program, like I said, there wasn't a purpose that was in my mind. What am I going to do with this? I mentioned that earlier, and it bothered me initially. I believe me, I'll tell you, because coming from a different background, doing a total, it was like being in a different field altogether. And so it kept cropping up in my mind. What am I going to do with it? And I remember having this conversation with our professors at that time, on a one-to-one also. And if you remember, purpose is a big thing, and then it can get, in your head. So I remember this one conversation, and this was a professor, and she mentioned to me that you'll find your purpose as you go along. Why are you, even stressing over it? Or why are you thinking so much about it? Just be yourself, keep doing, and somewhere with everything, keep doing that soul searching. That's all you need to do, what you connect with through this program, and you're going to find it. And you need not necessarily, what rang a huge bell in my mind at that time was, you don't need to have one big, large purpose. You could have that one purpose, and then there could be so many smaller purposes. And that was so beautiful, that one statement that I, came from this professor, and it has stayed with me always. And you wouldn't believe, I think after the second semester, I was looking at things, and I was connecting different things, maybe during one of the assignments again, where you write about you seeing your future self and what would you like to do, if you remember. I found this point, and I speak about it now because my mother has been a huge source of inspiration to me. But now at 80, I found that her life had kind of slowed down. She didn't have that confidence level. She wasn't that, very alive person that she used to be. Each day, she was unable to find or anchor onto a meaning or her own purpose in life. And all her life, she has been a very dynamic woman, a woman of substance who has contributed so much to not just to her children, but to, the extended family. You know how in India, families are such a big unit, and, culturally, that's how we are. And she has done so much, in not just as a parent, but otherwise. And yet at 80, or maybe a couple of years ago itself, she started losing her purpose or meaning in life. And that got me thinking. I said, this is the demographic group that I need to work with. Firstly, it occurred to me that I do not want to be there soon or whenever I reach that stage. And secondly, what is it that I can do? Firstly, looking at my mother, I kept anchoring back on her. What is it that I can do to enrich her life more, to get her to think differently? It's almost like the entire thought process changes. I'm not capable of doing this. I cannot do this. So all that, we start feeding our mind with the negativity. And I saw that in her. I also saw that in my mother-in-law, as, they grew older. So these two women around me kind of made me rethink, relook at this particular group, especially of women, because I am speaking of women and I was looking at them. And I realized that, this is something that I want to do. This is something that I'd like to devote my time to. So that's how it came around.
Yes, I feel you. Because my mom, she is in her late 60 right now. And I can see that after her retirement, a few years after she retired, she started being, she became another person like that.
Mm,
Yeah. And she
so
found more purpose now by going to the temple, by volunteer doing something for the temple. Otherwise, she was not herself when I knew
mm,
her. Yeah.
exactly. Yes, so true.
Vero say the idea of finding your purpose can be so daunting. I believe our purpose can also be very fluid and can be refined and refined as we evolve and change throughout our human experience. Yeah,
So
yeah.
true, Vero. Absolutely. I think we all go through that sometime or the other in life. Um, but you'd stay at it, and in my case, like I discovered and I found it, and I strongly connected with it. That's because what was within is what, if you can connect that, nothing can be better.
So I got another question for you. You was talking about, like helping women finding their purpose and joy, and you also mentioned about happier centers. So can
Yes.
you elaborate on your vision for happier center and how you
Yes.
plan? But yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you. So yes, happier centers for especially for the elderly, but then I don't think age should define us, and so I would not do that. But I'd like to, wellness today is all about your physical wellness. Especially in India, we have a lot of these wellness centers, which are basically spas, if I may call them that. So my idea was to integrate holistic wellness into these centers, and so I have been working on this model and then to put it together, where, of course, you have a physical wellness center, but along with that, connect it with a whole being wellness center, whether it's about your mind, it's about your intellect, it's about your learning, it's about growing, or it's about relationship building. So where women could come together, connect, and work on their maybe discover purpose or meaning. So whether it is standalone centers or whether it is connecting with these physical wellness centers, I am deeply cued to kind of begin this. Especially in India, because we have very little resource for the elderly women, and like retired women, like you mentioned, like your mother or like my mother, and very few women therefore can connect or find their something to look forward to each day, or that zing in the day that yes, I'm going to embrace today. So which is what I am working on currently, but because it may take a little bit of time to launch this, I am currently working on an online resource that I could start immediately, and that can connect women at least on a digital forum together. And so that's going to happen faster, and I hope to be able to share that with everyone here around, and with all your positive energies. I'm sure I will embrace that, and it'll see from something, a mental concept, to a physical entity of its own very soon.
Yes, I agree. When you could gather everybody on Zoom like this, you can very much like compress the time um that you need to have when you have to like up in a physical location.
Yes.
So did you already start your project or you are planning to start a project?
So it is still on kind of, honing, or kind of, I would say, polishing the rough edges. And I've reached out to a few wellness centers. So, the approach is multi-pronged right now. What immediately works for me. So there's another path that I'm looking at, which is where, how you would have a holistic integrative medicine kind of a center, where a couple of doctors and psychologists, like people like us could come together for the elderly, so they would look at the entire, all their needs and requirements. So that would, people may be more receptive to that. So I'm also in touch with medically trained professionals, whether we could provide, all the services under one roof. So as you know, there are certain illnesses that are, or certain resources that the elderly require, whether it is a hearing, or whether it is related to your sight, or whether it's related to your cognitive abilities that you need to keep on working on. So I'm working on that module as well, along with the medical professionals, where I could look into, the other aspects of wellness, and they could look into that. And so, yes, so right now it is still in the kind of the model stage, but needs to be launched. And I hope so soon.
Wow. I knew it's a project, but it's a big project.
Yes, yes. It can
Wow.
be daunting, Jasmine, but then, every small step, again, a learning from Charles, small incremental, changes each day, and you are moving up.
Wow. Thank you so much. I'm so excited for you and all your
Thank you.
vision for, not just people in India, but I feel like for all women from all over the world.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, have seen a few more students and friends who join with us. So if you have any question for Ragini, you please feel free to raise your hand. Or also, if you don't want to raise your hand, then you can always like write a question on the chat box. I will be happy to read your question for you. Because this Zoom is not just for me and Ragini. It is for everybody who would love to learn about, India, Ragini, and her story, her family, and also, why she's one of the first MA in happiness study graduate. Um, okay, so we can go back to the MA in happiness study now. Um, so I knew that your family support you to take this program, but have you shared with them your study, your learning, and talk to your husband or your two children about this course, and what would they say? Thank you.
Yes, so I think a lot of sharing kept happening. Whatever I would learn, my husband and I have this morning kind of routine where we are both early risers. We'll share a cup of tea in the morning. And so all that I had learned, or the assignment that I was working in, a lot of, bouncing back of thoughts and opinions on so many things, immediate sharing would happen, and I would convey, this is how, and every day was a new exciting thing. Oh, I learned about this study, and did you know whether it was Ellen Langer, or whether it was Kahneman, and, even the people I would talk about, and so animatedly about it. So I sometimes wondered whether they'd say, what is she going to talk about today to us? But it was all well taken. And I'm, like I said, it's a blessing to be in a family where everybody has a cohesion of thoughts. And so with my children, both being young and both being, in a professional field now, that they go through their own challenges. And so the most important thing here was that I would keep talking to them about is, slowing down, or the pause, or taking a moment to decide and not immediately looking at answers. I think, and with my daughter always being where she is, it was a long distance call. And I remember this, this was that one huge learning for me, or something that I spoke about a lot of times to both my children. And probably, when we are younger, we do not look at it. We are so driven by what we are working on at that time. And many times you go through challenges while doing that. And so this was my one statement to them all the time, that just slow down, take a pause, you'll get your answers, you'll find your path. you'll understand why, some things are an obstacle right now. We'll get past that. So slowing down, learning to slow down was such a huge learning from our program, don't you think? Did you ever look at slowing down and looking at how that could impact? I think it was one of the most wonderful things that I learned and imbibed in the
Yes.
course of this program.
Yes, I also learned more about slowing down and being able to listen to other people. And the fact that I have this Zoom call is because I want to learn how to listen to other people and receive as much as information as I could, because uh, in the past, I don't know if you have this problem or like anybody in the Zoom call have the same problem as me, but I was not able to listen to other people. When people talking, my mind goes somewhere else. It's travel to the future, it's travel to the past, it's go to Vietnam, it go to, I don't know, it can go up and down. And then I'm here, but I'm not here in my mind.
So
So
true.
yeah. So that the fact that I saw Vero is raising her hand. Vero, please.
Hi, Vero.
Hi. So nice to see you all. Well,
Absolutely.
Ragini, you know how obsessed I am with the Indian culture, and my spiritual journey has been transformed because of my time in India. So it's very near and dear to my heart. So I was reading your background. I know you have come from like this corporate background, and I'm just curious as to how you're kind of incorporating the strong spirituality that is innate within you coming from India, and then also like coming up from like this corporate background, and sort of how are you kind of weaving them together?
Yes, thank you for that question. And so, yes, if I were actually, I wanted to say this sometime that if you really ask me how I would define myself, and if you see my DP on WhatsApp also, I write, I am the infinite. And that is what, the Bhagavad Gita teaches you. Everything that is outside is within you. It's just that we do not reach out to it, or we do not recognize that infiniteness that we actually are, which is our true self. And it is normal. We are human beings. We don't really see that. It gets covered by so many different other roles that we play that we don't know our intrinsic, our innate nature, which is of the nature of infinity and happiness. So yes, that is something that I've learned and I've imbibed, but how much am I able to practice it? I'll tell you of a very recent incidents, since you mentioned business and corporate background. So I was in New Jersey for the graduation ceremony, and of course I stayed back for another 2 weeks to spend time with my daughter. Post that, both my husband and I. And as you know, we work together. He looks into the technical aspects of the business, and I look into all the other functions, whether it's finance. Very small company of about a team of 8 people. And so there was a major challenge that came upon us. Business is full of challenges. It's full of uncertainties. We all know that. So, and I think since you mentioned that spirituality or spiritual studies and anchoring is most required in business, as of course in various other professions, but the uncertainties in business are tremendous. So just before we were both leaving for the United States, there was a problem that came up, a challenge, I should say, not a problem. And we came away with that. And as you know, time zone differences, we are 12 hours ahead. So what was night there was day here. And every day, to talk to whether it was our own team here or whether it was to the agency with whom we were coordinating at that time, it was happening. And I was looking only at the positive that was my graduation and to connecting with all of you. And so I was in that very, very happy state, like a cloud up in the air like that. And so every day I would see my husband going back and, going through this whole process of having this deep discussion and how can we get past this? And you know what I said? One day I sat him down and I said, look, why don't we just leave it? Let it be for a while. How is it that we want to sort it out and at our terms, when we want it? And how can we do that? We've done our best. can we leave the rest? So do your best and leave the rest is something that I always go by. And that was that one time, and I'm quite amazed because it was a major challenge. And I normally may not have responded that way. And again, it is all the energies that come together that help you think like that, I think. And I said this to him. And Vero, you wouldn't believe. So, and it lay low all that the rest of the a week after the graduation and post that. And you wouldn't believe when we came back to India and, I kind of got back into it. And that is when I started putting my energies into it. And that was something that I handled. It's just because I was so, distracted and doing other things in the US related to my graduation that I was not looking into it. It sorted itself out. So the learning from that was that you do your best, but don't kind of, as though you are willing something to happen, it is going to take its time. And so just learn to be in that moment and learn to accept that or embrace that, and to not lose your faith or equanimity. This was a very recent experience that I had, and then I shared with him. I said, look, if you hadn't gone through that or put yourself through that mental, kind of a stress situation each day, you would have still, it would have still taken the same time to have sorted out, because from our end, we did not leave anything undone. Sometimes things take time. So such is the case in business scenarios. This is one instance in many instances, and you would hold on to your strength or your anchoring in that moment, and not allow challenges to get or take you over. Rather, you be on top of them and say, okay, I've done it, and there are higher forces out there. So I always kind of anchor in that, and I hope I can continue to do that. That as long as my intention, so the word, you are so grounded in Indian philosophy yourself now, sankalp is a very strong word in Sanskrit, which means my intent. And your intent is positive, nothing can go wrong with you. It may take its time, it may take you through that test, and later on you look at it and that test was also meant to teach you something. That's a lesson. So let your intent be pure, let it be positive, and that's how I keep going, I think.
At the ashram, they teach us when we're sitting down for meditation to sort of think sankalpa shakti, the determination, the power that despite distractions or uncomfortableness that we may feel when we're sitting in meditation, we're going to stay in stillness. Because then when we get up for the meditation, it's not just those 20, 30 minutes that you're sitting down. How are you among the distractions and the uncomfortableness of your daily life? Can you still stay in that stillness? And that's practiced within those 20 minutes when you're sitting there.
That's so beautiful, everyone. I'm so happy for your journey. It's so amazing and very inspiring what you're doing. And like you mentioned, yes, 2 minutes of meditation, you require 24 hours of how you are conducting yourself, how pure are your thoughts, how anchored you are in your values. It is something that I did not connect with when, I began my journey towards meditation. And this is what my guru told me. For 2 minutes of meditation, you require 24 hours of work on yourself. That's so true. It's so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vero, for this wonderful question. I learned something from Vero and Ragini as well, while both of you are talking about meditation and being stillness. Wow, I did not thought of 2 minutes of meditation is required 24 hours of working. Could you share more about that, please?
So what is your meditation? If you the steps in yoga, Patanjali's yoga, there are so many different steps that lead you ultimately to your state of meditation that is said in the Yoga Sutras. So whether it is your physical discipline or it is you're working on your breath, which these are all we've learned and understood that just anchoring yourself in your breath is what stills your mind. So that is why these physical practices, you begin with the postures, then you begin with the different breath work patterns, and you work upon yourself, and then you begin kind of turning inwards and bringing your mind towards stillness. So meditation or samadhi, or which is the final step in the in the Yoga Sutras, is the ultimate. So it does not just happen by sitting quietly and closing your eyes, as you know, and I can speak for myself. All the thoughts come, with a huge barrage into your head when you sit down on for your meditation. A lot of distractions keep happening. And so the idea here is, again, to allow them, to not fight them or to kind of, throw them out, because that's the natural tendency that we all have. So accept and embrace them at that point, and that is what's going to lead you towards your stillness. So effectively, what the masters are saying, how you conduct yourself through the day, if you are conducting yourself with, you're acting out of a friction, if you're acting out of, going against your own beliefs or your own value systems, that's going to bother you. So work on yourself through the day, be honest with yourself, be true to yourself, be true to people whom you connect with through the day. And so that is what's going to help you at the end of the day, when you, or whenever you sit in the seat of meditation, or in, you want to go into that state, because your distractions come from your conduct or how you behave during the day. So, which is what he meant for those 2 minutes of stillness. You need to be perfectly in harmony, your thought, your what you say, what you act, um, you know, uh, everything needs to be in equilibrium. So yes, and for me, that is my, if you ask me to define happiness, still what I think of it is, so I, very practically, I think it is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in perfect harmony. That is when you are in a happy state.
Wow. Well said. Just like Vero said. Yeah, that is such a beautiful wisdom that you share to us today, beginning. And
It's
I often don't say, I usually tell people that when we are in the state of balance, or when we, too high up or like too low, then we have to go back to our balanced state, like state of mind, or like just like balance energy. But the way that you describe it is so beautiful, and yeah, it's so beautiful, and it's just, I'm so impressed. I need to
no, it's
learn this
something to learn from
vocabulary.
meditation.
Is that is this is something that you learned from your master before, or this is something that you realized during the time that you practice yoga, and also learn um like that this is something that you realized before you was in the MA in happiness program, or do you learn you realize during the time that you are in this program?
So I've been fortunate. Of course, I am not a realized person. It is the masters and the gurus who are, I have just been very fortunate, because in our culture, we also believe that the fact that you come to a guru, or that, a guru accepts you, is a big fortune in your life. You're really, really fortunate that you have found that path. It is not, don't take it as something that happens. So I've just been very fortunate, I think, and I am very blessed that I have had the, the great fortune to learn with under masters, whether it was my Swami Chimyananda, whom I have learned my Vedanta under, or under Chinmaya Mission, or the Bhagavad Gita, the teachings from there. I think these are things that the realized masters have put out there, and the more you read, the more that repetition kind of makes it stronger in your mind, and the belief, and you understand it, it holds more meaning. And then to have come to the MA in happiness studies, and Tal have him say that. And one of the most beautiful things that I wanted to share here, Jasmine, is that what a fabulous teacher Tal is, what a wonderful guru he is, and the manner in which he does it, and the way in which he has tried to, whether it, he's tried always by teaching, by living the talk. He walks the talk, he actually embodies what he speaks about, the great humbleness with which he connects. He cajoles you, literally, he coaxes you to try this out, whether it was, for all the rituals or the repetitions, and he keeps on urging you to do it. It is so amazing, and I'm so, so fortunate and so grateful to him, and for this MA in happiness studies, because theory you may know, but to, like he says, the knowing doing gap, when you can bridge that, and I think he totally, puts it out for you. He makes and gives you that plan on how to do it. And that is one of the most enriching parts of my MA program, and this MA program for me, where, I've learned small changes that I could manage uh, through various opportunities that he gave us through the program. Don't you agree? In different semesters, in so many ways, we learned.
Yeah. I'm so thankful for you to saying that, just because I also I feel the different with Tao as well. It's not like I have not had, the best master that I ever met before, but I felt something different about Tao. He gave me this the same experience that you just described. He walk the talk and he talk the walk. He just like he do whatever he suggests us to do. He have done that, and he master what he do. Have what he asks us to learn. He master all of that, and then he share with us what he do. I'm so thankful that I get to learn with him as well. Literally, I appreciate earlier you say that don't think the guru or the master accept us, and it's because they accept us. There's a reason. But I don't think a lot of people would understand that. So if you could explain, how would you explain that saying?
So in our scriptures and even in our culture, it is said that, when you are ready, the guru appears. Again, like you said, even to me, if you had asked me this 10 years ago, I would say, where will the guru appear from? And how? That question, because we are looking at logic. I have to go. Of course, I have my path, I have my journey, I have to, move towards it. I have to show an inclination for that. But then when I'm ready, when I'm physically and mentally ready, the guru is going to come to me as my blessing and is going to show to me the path. And I have experienced it, Jasmine. I can't even tell you how much I subscribe to that, and I to everyone, that keep doing your things, keep doing what is pulling you towards it, and don't neglect that also, because many times we get so busy in our day-to-day routine life, in our work, in our families, that something keeps coming to us in our mind and we say, okay, I'll deal with it. But don't do that. And if something is kind of reaching out to you, explore that, look within, reflect, think about it. And this is what I think led me to my studies, whether it is about the philosophy of Vedanta or whether it is Bhagavad Gita. I think something kept calling me. You'd be surprised. Again, I'd like to share it because it is very interesting, and again, people may relate to it. Like Veru said that, I am in the corporate field, I work in this field of business, and I would be going to work every day, I remember, and there was this pull at the back of my mind that I want to grow a little more. Everybody's talking about this book, the Bhagavad Gita, which is like it is like a manual for life. There is nothing religion in it, but the universal religion, which is how to lead a good life, what to do. And I said, how come I just know a few verses from here, there. I don't know the deep impact of it. I don't know. I've not read this book that, and it is from my own culture. I haven't read it. So on my way to work, uh, on my way back, or I would read a verse every day. I bought the book. I bought it in Sanskrit. It is written in Sanskrit and then translated into Hindi and then English as well. And I would read it. So it went on for about 6-8 months, and I wasn't progressing. Obviously, it is such a profound book that you need somebody to, interpret it for you. You need to have a master to, kind of teach you. And believe me, within maybe 6 to 8 months, I saw this advertisement in the newspaper where they were starting a certificate course on the Bhagavad Gita, on the philosophy of Vedanta. There was this organization. I enrolled for it. It was an online course, and I could manage. It was an offline course, but our assessments were online, and I managed it. And again, the question was, should I do it? Should I not? Do I have the time? Do I need to do this? So many questions and doubts arise in you. But if you are able to put a finger on what you deeply want and you are able to do that, I think that, is it for you, you know. And that's what happened in my case. So that's why I'm saying that the guru finds you. Why did I see that advertisement? Why did I do this course? One thing led to the other. Maybe I'm here in this MA in happiness program because that is where my journey began. Because again, I began reflecting, I began thinking about a lot of other things other than my regular routine life. So paying attention to that and seizing that moment, I think. Yes, so the guru did find me, whether I say it is Tal or whether I say it is the master who taught, under whom I learned the spiritual, these scriptures. I think they are all there. They're looking out for you very benevolently, wanting you like a child. They're wanting to have you under their wings. You just have to, reach out. So yes, I do
Yeah,
believe in that strongly.
beautifully explaining. I loved it a lot. It's just because, usually people don't expect what you said because it's so deep, and it's so profound, even though it's so basic. But not everybody would understand that, there's a calling. If something happens so often and frequently, like, it's not random anymore. It must be a sign for us to, take a look at it, and decide if that's what we want to do. But often, if it appears too often, then we should give it a change. And also,
Yes.
I love the fact that you mentioned about, like when we are ready, then the guru appear. Or Beryl also mentioned that when you want something, or the universal comprise to
Absolutely.
helping you to achieve it. That is so true. That is
That
so
is so
true. Um, but I have another curious question for you. Do you know how before? Because you mentioned that you know about happiness study. So was you in the certificate program before this MA program, or how did you know Tao? Thank you.
So I did not know I wasn't in the certificate program at all. And like I mentioned, I think maybe about 2020 is when I submitted my first research proposal, like I mentioned earlier, and that was on happiness. So while researching for happiness, I got to know, because it was going back maybe 30, my previous master's was 30 years ago, Jasmine. So going back 3 decades was a long period. I got to know about Martin Seligman, or whether it was Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. All these people came to life for me now, which was 4 years ago. And then Tal's work on happiness. In fact, I heard this one little talk on YouTube that he was giving about how the idea occurred to him on a flight, and he wanted, how come there is no formal studies? Everything we are studying, how come we are not studying happiness, which is the basis of our very being? And so that stayed with me. And then I was connected through email with HSA. Like I said, there was like a hesitation. Should I join the certificate? For the longest time, I kept looking at the certificate program. But then when they announced their masters, that's how I said, yes, I will wait for the masters then. So my journey into HSA and my association with HSA, this is how it began, through Tal, knowing of him. And what a beautiful person to know.
Oh, that's the reason why I thought you was in the certificate program. But you
No.
you saw email from XSA, and I assumed that, like you are in the XSA before this MA program. That's
I think
beautiful.
I must have reached out to them,
Mm,
thinking I may join the certificate, but I did not. And then
mm,
MA happened.
yeah, that's wonderful. Um, so last time there was I told you about this gentleman who opens maybe a chapter in India. Have you reached out to him yet?
I did inquire from Abhiyad also. I did not get a reply on that. And then I think Michelle, I have spoken with her. She is handling the local chapters in different cities and countries. And so I think she was traveling and in China at that time. So I think I'm going to hear from her because she said once she's back, we'll have a conversation on it.
Yeah.
So, yes.
I'm more curious about, like how do you think people in India need this program? Because you know that we have a lot of students from Vietnam who join this program because we see something from this program. We see the, like how precious and important the world needs happiness study. But I wonder how Indian student would think of this program.
So there is one program already in one of the, I think, management or business schools that is there. But apart from that, there is not much in the various professional schools, whether engineering or business. And these are people, where there is a lot of high stress, domains, especially for students as also for teachers. And I think this is where a program in happiness would do very well and would be initially everybody has a reserve, they have a doubt in their minds, and especially Indian people are very driven by the learning and getting formal education. It's a big thing in our culture, in our minds. And so happiness may not hold that initial pull or immediate pull, I would say, but sooner than later, it is bound to percolate, and everybody is bound to realize this is as important as everything else, because all the other forms of education that one goes through. So again, the government is trying to look into it and begin a program at the school level also, but it's going to take a while. However, at the college level, at the senior, at the higher education level, I think the absorption may happen more, organically, I'm sure. So the need is to put it out there so that there is more awareness.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Because like we live in this world where people are hunger for knowledge, but at the same time we know that we are hungry for knowledge, but we don't want to take action when it's come to making decision, and I know that a lot of Indian they have the love for knowledge as well. That's why I don't know about the new generation, but I heard from other Indian friends that often their parents chose the career for them when they was young. I don't know like actually how old would it be, but they say when they are young, their parents want them to be, like a doctor, and then there's the school system actually have a test for student to take. And yeah, can you tell us more about that, please?
Yes, so you are right. I think up to a point it was like the parents would configure, or not configure is not the right word, I'm sorry, but then they would influence what a child could do. And that's natural. Okay, I know my child, I brought up my child up to a point, so I know what are certain strong points. But then the thing to do is to put it all out there and allow the child also to decide or discover for himself or herself what he or she connects with. So that realization is happening slowly and definitely more now. Maybe not, of course, I chose what I chose to do back then also. I'm very fortunate, I would say my parents, allowed me to do what I wanted to do. And the same thing happened with my children. If you look at it, my son studied engineering. So he did his master's in chemical engineering from Cornell University, but then he came back to India, and what he does is totally very different. He runs an organization of soft skills training. So there is nothing linear in the process. I continue to be amazed at that, and that realization for all of us, that you don't have to have a straight line in your entire trajectory. Mine surely is not. Like I say, my entire academic and my professional journey is very, very eclectic. It's meandered like a river all through, and you are enriched at every step like that. So more and more parents, I think, are understanding this process, and I think very rarely uh, is one. I think the education system is also making it more uh, available, the opportunity for the students to look at their own aptitudes, to think what they connect with. But I think one more thing that needs to be put out there everywhere in every education system is, it's not necessarily what your performance strength is. If you remember, we have a passion strength and a performance strength. So I could be good at something, but my heart wants or connects with something else. So let us reach out for that passion and let that be the decision maker for us, what we want to follow. And I think where I am today, I would say, yes, this is my passion journey now. That is my deep connect that has brought me here. So, it's okay. Allow yourself to discover your own self. As parents, I think we need to do that more and more.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for reminding me about, the passion and like our strength lead to, our like potential to success in life. We have done that in the MA in happiness study as
Yes.
well. I love that.
Yes.
I love that part. I need to go back and rewatch and reread of what we had learned, but I need to remember that. It's so important.
Yes.
I have.
Absolutely.
So, can you share some of the key insight and experience that you gained from the program, the MA in happiness study program?
So I have been talking about a lot of it all along, of course. Like I just said, this one, because I connect very deeply with it, because it's not that I wasn't doing well in the corporate field or I don't have the strength there, but then this is what my heart pulls me towards, where I want to work in the field of happiness studies, or if I am working towards cultivating meaning and purpose. So that is a very important point that I learned from there. What I learned was about the small incremental changes, the MBIs that Tal taught about, and I saw that in action. I can tell you certain habits that I could change working on that, one little step at a time, which appeared, it may not happen, it happened. So that was actually seeing the theory in action upon me. I saw that. Understanding mindfulness to a much larger extent. All through this program, I think we have been, there in different domains Tal has been speaking about, or the various subjects that we studied. We've been talking about mindfulness in everything, and how the deeper you connect with what you're doing in that moment can lead you to do your best, not just to perform to the best, but also to feel your best at the end of it. So that has been a huge learning. Like, we know it, mindfulness, yes, but then to see it and the importance of it in everything, I think that is something that I have learned all along. One more thing about physical well-being I haven't spoken about, and I think it occurred to me. I think I am very cued towards physical fitness. I enjoy physical exercise. I am a long distance runner. I run the half marathon. So all along, I kept thinking to myself every time, we had a lesson on physical well-being, and then, if you remember, high intensity interval training and all that. And I very smugly said to myself, I know it. I am fit. I do my exercise every day, because as part of my running, I do my practice, 30, 40 minutes each day. And of course, longer over the weekends. But then what came across was literally like, something I needed to shake myself out of and sit down and pause and understand. You remember how it was nutrition, exercise, sleep, and touch, of course. And sleep was where I was totally not in the zone. I was totally going haywire. And I said, I am looking at myself very smugly and very satisfied. I'm very good at my fitness. And so where was sleep figuring out? Because at the end of the day, I was not getting more than 5.5 to 6 hours of sleep, especially during the running season, because when we are practicing for the half marathon, one is running about 10, 12 kilometers or let's say 10 miles a day. And so you get up early, but then you want to hold on and enjoy, you don't sleep very early and you're not getting more than less than 6 hours. And that was a wake-up call to me. Believe me, after that, every 30-day challenge that this program put us through, you remember, we had to take up, it was always sleep. All my hatmates will know that if it's Ragini, it's got to be sleep. And so that was my way of, and it was my biggest learning about my physical fitness and my physical journey, and not be very confident and say, okay, I am a runner and I'm doing this. So I think one of the other things, everything was wonderful all through this program, but these were elements that totally stood out for me. Yes.
I loved it. So you are the first guest speaker who mentioned about physical well-being. Could during the time that I have these talks, this chatting with everybody, everybody tell me that they are focusing on like the spiritual well-being part, like intellectual well-being part, but you are the first person who actually mentioned about physical well-being and sleep. Who would think about sleep, right? Or like drinking water.
Absolutely. At that one TED talk that we listened to, Matt Baker, I think it was, where he said that the silent killer, and yet sleep is your superpower. Where do we recharge? Where do we recover? We don't do that. I wasn't doing that. I'm so sorry, I can't say for everybody else. And then it put me onto it, and it could be the cause of so many underlying, diseases or other physical ways it would show up if you're not getting enough sleep. It was a game changer for me. It was a game changer, absolutely.
So
Running I was enjoying my physical journey, and it taught me a lot. My marathon running, which again happened a little later in life for me, like a lot of things, that I took to in the later half of my 50s, if I look at chronological age. And again, very doubtfully, should I do this? Where it was not just a physical learning or a physical expression or exercise, so much more mental takeaways from that. Endurance, resilience, so many things I learned. But then I was falling back on sleep. So that is an area I still need to work upon.
that's a reason why originally I was setting up Leslie to be your host for today, because you and her have a lot of things in common. But unfortunately, her son's got a high fever randomly. So that's why she cannot be here with us, but she will be able to join in another episode.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So back to you a little bit. So what advice would you give to others who are looking to find purpose and joy later in their life?
Okay, so since you say later, this is my favorite topic. I want to speak about it. I think, so I want to say that age does not, now I can say that, don't allow age to define who you are. It is just the number of years that you've lived here on this planet. That's it. And don't allow that to define what you can do or who you are. Because, in fact, look at the luxury that I have had, because that many more experiences which have enriched me, which have taught me lessons, very important lessons in life. So I'm looking at my age as a luxury now. And this mindset has come through all my learnings from all the different teachers that I have learned under. And so the minute you look at it as your strength, instead of doubting yourself that, okay, I'm 60, it's a milestone birthday that I just had. And so what more is left? There's so much more that you have and so much more that you can give from here on. So yes, you have so much more that you know what you want to do with yourself, who you want to be with, the people you attract, the battles that you want to take. What are things that are important to me that I would like to connect with. You know how to choose that. You make your decisions with that little pause. Those experiences are all the elements that come to your mind before you take. So there are a lot of positives that come with age, the number age, and of course your mental age. There is no limits. You can be mentally young as long as you put yourself out there, as long as you grow intellectually. There is so much to learn in life all through. So yes, this is something that I like to say to people who are in that process, and to the younger people. I think just understand that all the wonders that are outside there are within us. The energies that are outside are all infinitely there within yourself. You just need to reach out to it, to dig into it, and then connect with it. And you have the ability. So never feel that you do not have the capability or the capacity to do something that has come to your mind. Because if it has come to your mind, you have been given the ability to act it out and to bring it forth. So don't curb it, just bring it out there. Of course, I'm nobody to advise. I am myself on my own journey, but these are things that ring very deeply with me. So sharing with all of you, and thank you so much for listening to me today and to my
Thank
journey.
you, Ragini. You are so humble. Of course, we would listen to your advice. Not just because you like are one of the MA in happiness graduates, but you also have, full of wisdom. Your life, I would not spend my whole life having the same experience as you. And then I'm sure like all of us here in the Zoom won't have the same experience as you. That's why we need to learn from you. Because instead of reading a book, we have you right here. More than just a book. You share with us
You're very
everything that
kind.
you last question, really short. So if you get a chance to become a host like me, who would you like to interview? One of our MA student or the teacher.
Tal. First off, if you ask me, Tal, but then everyone is equally dear to me, Jasmine. That's a tough one that you've thrown at me. But I am so close to all my friends here in this MA program. Each one has their own journey. I'm sure you know it so much better than any of us, because and you're so it's such a privilege to be talking here to you and to everyone. And you have known them so closely, and you're doing such a fabulous job on this, and to bring it out there, so for us to know about each other, because we did not have that kind of prolonged connect to know everybody's stories. And one thing I'll tell you, Jasmine, maybe if you'd asked me a couple of years ago, I would have been that person who was very, very reserved about sharing things about myself. So I'm not one to share things on social media or anywhere else, or but then this is again another learning from this program, where sharing your stories is so important, because and listening to somebody else's story, because what connects with you in that moment, and how much of a game changer something positive can be in your life is it's amazing. And I've understood that the way Tal speaks about, or with the way our program spoke about storytelling, and how you can enrich yourself just by the stories you tell about yourself or the ones you listen to. And so I think this is an amazing thing that we are all that you're doing, and that we are talking about. And I would not say this person or that, and every single person's story and their life story or their journey is as enriching and beautiful, and to be shared and heard. And so I cannot give you one answer there, but all very dear to me, and it will be a privilege to do so any day.
Well, your answers would be the most like the bold answers answers ever, just because even Irish, she's so close to Tao, but she was not to Tao. She was like, I wanna interview Phoebe. you know. So your answers is the most bold answers ever. Beside Ben, I think Ben wanna interview Tao as well, but we all know the love like Ben have for Tao, so it's normal to me.
No, but
And
I love all the professors equally, Jasmine. Sorry to cut you short there, but then I love them all equally. And I've had such a beautiful conversations with them. I've learned so much with each one of them. It's really, really wonderful. And I'm so privileged.
yeah, thank you so much. I was laughing at Ben answers.
Yes,
I forgot.
I can see that.
Ben want Tao to interview him, not he interviewed Tao. So right now you're the only one who want to interview Tao. But I know. But thank you so much, Ragini, for being here with us and sharing your incredible journey with us today. I appreciate your wisdom, and I'm sure everybody appreciate your wisdom and the positive impact you continue to make in the life of others and us as well. Once again, thank you for being with us on WholeBeing Journey. And we have this Zoom call every Tuesday or Wednesday. Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. I mean, sorry, not 6, 9 p.m. EST time, and or Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. EST time as well. We try to have different times for people who live in different time zone, and also maybe who at work and cannot join us, early morning. They can always join us later in the evening as well. But thank you, Ragini, for waking up early today, because it was 6 a.m. her time. She has to be on the Zoom with us, but thank you so much for your effort. We all love you.
Thank you so much for having me on this beautiful interview, this WholeBeing Journey, and for listening to my story, for listening to my journey. And I'm so enriched by having all of you around me and by all our teachers. And this program has brought so much enrichment into my life. I cannot even explain. It's an entire community that has, and the world has become so much smaller to have all of you around me. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much again. And I cannot wait to see all of you again next week. Thank you, Ragini, one more time. Also, thank you, Teresa, for always supporting our show, and Vero for always supporting our show. Maybe I will reach out to Teresa soon, maybe on Facebook, and like planning to have you on our Zoom call, on our interview, and listen to your story. Next week we will have Chanel interview Giovanni.
Wow.
So we will have Giovanni on our show, and we will be able to listen to a lot of his wisdom, and also like listen to Chanel being a host, for the first time on the show. So I hope that everybody could be able to be in my spot, and I could be, the coordinator for everybody to be able to come to the Zoom and share with us their story at the same time, being the host. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for being here this evening or this morning and taking time out. And Leslie, we did miss you, and I do hope your son feels better soon. Thank you, Jasmine and Ben, for everything. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Bye,
Bye.
Ragini.
See you, Tiran.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Vero. Bye, Teresa. Bye.